everybody, how's it going? Eric here, and today we're going to talk about gods and monsters in the game, not actual gods and monsters. Now what's really surprising about this is that we don't really know that much, so I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about. However, I do know because I've been doing a little bit of digging into this game, and it turns out that, well, behind the scenes, a lot has been going on. They've been showing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and they just showed us a trailer. So I'm a little bit jealous, first of all, but also I want to dive a bit deeper into that because I think it's really interesting. Now, as far as the initial trailer kind of goes, it was just kind of a hype trailer, and I really don't like these. To tell the truth, they're just one of the most annoying things to me. Don't show me this hype trailer, be like, yes, look at this, Breath of the Wild camera angles, and Kid Icarus rising on a hillside. Like, that looks great. I love that. But now I don't know what else to be excited for because that just looks great. Honestly, just sell me what the game is and not what it possibly could be. And then to add some insult to this injury, they allowed for pre-orders today, which was just kind of weird. Like, why can I pre-order a game that I don't actually know what it is yet? Mind you, I just read this on Nintendo Everything today. I don't really know what that means in the US. You see, here in Australia, as soon as something is more than an assumption, it can be pre-ordered. It's kind of strange, actually. Anyway, rant over, because I'm actually kind of loving the look of this game and liking what I'm hearing behind the scenes, so I want to dive through some of that stuff that we know now. So I guess the tagline to this game would be it's an open world fantasy adventure where you'll use godlike abilities to defeat famed mythological beasts and save the Greek gods. Whoa, okay, that's a lot to unpack here. So let's start with the combat. What do we know about the combat? Well, we might have actually seen just a tinsy sprinkle of this combat. When you watch the trailer back here, you'll kind of notice that there's two scenes here. One where you're slashing upwards to attack the beast. I believe that might actually be in-game combat, before it quickly jumps back to being a cutscene and you're kind of stabbing the beast in the chest, kind of like Link stabs Ganondorf in the head. Violent, Eric. Very violent today. Now, that doesn't really tell us much about the combat, but there are some other details here that we do know, such as you'll be using swords, as we've seen, bows, and telekinetic powers. I don't know what that means. But from the impressions that I just keep getting about this game, it's possible that, that is leaning into the Breath of the Wild style of telekinetic powers, just from the puzzle-solving side and maybe from the combat side as well. Don't know, that part is very much speculation. To grab an actual quote from someone who's had a little bit of a tinkle around in this combat, here is IGN's Simon Cardy, who said, "It has a heavy emphasis on free-form aerial combat. It looks to provide more fluid, evasive combat, especially when compared to Odyssey's stiffer system. So it makes me wonder, is it going to be more like God of War with an aerial-based system? Is it going to be punishing like Dark Souls?" But one thing I think we can take away from this is that it's probably not going to be as stiff as Zelda Breath of the Wild's combat. I mean, that was kind of like... I like Breath of the Wild's combat, but I do think it's more on the strategic side because of the elements around it, more than the actual action-heavy part of it. Two more takeaways here from the combat is, one, it says godlike abilities, and we might actually see a glimmer of us maybe receiving one of these abilities from Zeus here? Is Zeus I think Zeus is a lightning god. And then the second part here is we will be versing famed mythological beasts, and from what it sounds like, the game will take a heavy kind of focus around mythological things in general. Actually, to be precise here, Greek mythology is where I think it's going to take most of its kind of inspiration and draw from. Or all of it, actually, maybe. Probably. Almost definitely. Now let's talk about the adventure side of it, and this is rather interesting. You see, the adventure side of it is said to be, well, open world. In fact, their exact quote is, "Players will roam freely on the ground and glide in the air." And when talking to IGN, they even said this is the most open world game they've ever done. So very much the impression that I got from all this was that it's going to go, and this is by no means a bad thing, by the way, I like this, but it's going to go very much the Breath of the Wild route. In other words, the start of the game, it seems like you're just going to have this big open world, go where you want, do what you want, verse what you want, solve the puzzles in kind of any order. In fact, the entire game very much feels like it borrows heavily from Breath of the Wild. I do believe that it's doing enough here to stay unique and different from what I'm reading, but it certainly seems to be very much that open world, and even like the puzzle designs. There's puzzles over the open world, there's platforming, and in fact that's even going to play into the fact that you can't actually fly. Now you can jump, and you can in fact double jump and triple jump, but you don't actually have a flying ability. The flying is very much, again here, Breath of the Wild style. You have a glide meter, and you can glide, and a stamina bar will kind of, I believe, define how far you can glide. I know it works with how you sprint, and I'd almost be certain that that works with gliding as well. As I was reading into this part here is where I started to get a bit more, okay, I'm on board with this game, more so than the original trailer, because the original trailer very much just showed a beautiful world, which it looked great, by the way. I love the look of it, but it just showed a beautiful world with maybe some combat. I didn't really get much a sense of like what else is going on around here. But then after reading into this and hearing about these puzzle solvings and platformings, I'm like, okay, there's more going on here than we're seeing. In fact, even things like RPG mechanics are going to be in the game. Now, I don't know what those RPG mechanics are. I don't know. I do know that you get like, they talked about a pair of Pegasus boots that will speed up the way you run, but I don't know if it's going to be like increased defense. Is it going to be like Breath of the Wild, where it's like very light on the RPG mechanics and it's got more to do with the equipment, or is it actually going to be like leveling up mechanics and different things like that? Don't know that much yet. We've also only seen one of the biomes so far, so there are other ones here. Like, we've seen the grass one, but there's other biomes around the overworld, and there's even an underworld that we can explore. Of course, being the Greek mythology, you get that. Now, perhaps the most interesting thing that I probably shouldn't have left to last here about the game is that, very much along the lines of Bastion, it is narrated. I love this idea, and in fact, I kind of think it's strange that we haven't seen this executed more. Kind of like Breath of the Wild's open world. Like, we see the open world idea of Breath of the Wild's, but no one has really tried to do the same thing that they've done. Perhaps because of such big scale, it'd be so hard for anyone just to pull off. But Ubisoft seems to be trying to pull off both here, both a narrated big adventure and a Breath of the Wild style world. Again, another quote here from IGN reads, "Your actions are narrated by Homer, ancient Greece's most famous storyteller, as he recounts your tale to his grandchildren." I am 100% on board with the narrating. Honestly, it just sounds fantastic to me. As long as they can choose the right voice actor and the right feel to it, I believe that this would just be a fantastic element to add to this type of game. And I hope they can pull it off, because by no means is going to be easy. Having narrating just anywhere in the world, that doesn't sound like an easy thing to pull off. Last of all here, Gods and Monsters will be launching on February 25th, 2020, which is kind of just around the corner. It's not that far away. So I would expect to see more in this game really soon. Probably by the time I put this video out and if someone renders, the trailer is going to render it completely silliness. Pointless. I didn't mention before, but it is from the creators of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It is coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and Google Stadia. I think that's going to do it for today. So if you enjoyed what happened here, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, be much appreciated. And remember, for great Nintendo entertainment, you can count on me. For today's end screen, I don't really have anything to talk about. So it's just before E3, and I'm going to talk about some E3 games and expectations. Today's one is going to be Link's Awakening, because I think that looks really cool, really unique, really looking forward to it. However, it's just the old game coming back again, and that's great. I'm going to play it again, but I want to know what they can add to this game to make it extra unique, and I do hope they add something to it. That is today's end screen. Good